What is up, guys? I've been moving along with my project a little bit. I've kind of slowed down because I've been on vacation this week, but I've been doing a little bit of statistical analysis, and I've come up with a sloppy um, Bayesian model for predicting closing or not. And when I say sloppy, I mean like extremely sloppy, but it's a start nonetheless. So I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of like what I've been doing here and just getting into it. So basically we've got right here the data frame, obviously, and we have loaded it in. So we've got these functions right here that are actually non-related. This is just like practicing my probability. But yeah, I've written down some use cases for the PDF and PMFs to remember them. And basically, in case you don't know, a probability, these are PDF and PMF are probability functions where you see the probability, the probability of each outcome, of all the possible outcomes occurring. You have probability mass functions, which are for like discrete variables. So like what number you roll on a dice, or like what size car you get, like a 4-cylinder V6 or a V8 or something like that, or yeah, something like that. But PDF, which is mostly what this data works with, is like continuous variables, like how tall are you or how much you weigh, and that's where you see things like bell curves, as people often call them. Like this is what I'm talking about right here. So that was just a little bit of like review for me. But now getting into the actual model, like it's not fancy, but we got this probability of closing, and it takes into account how much revenue a company is doing, what domain they are in their business model, and then we have this keyword argument known as margin. And the reason for a margin is that this determines the the buckets, because when you have continuous data, technically there's infinite possible outcomes. So you have to bucket the incomes within like an integer or within a slight range, like so. You got 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. That kind of stuff. So by default, let's say if we enter like 500,000 for revenue, it's gonna, instead of returning the company or selecting the companies that have $500,000 in revenue, unless you set the margin otherwise, it's gonna basically select everything that's within $450,000 to $550,000 a month of revenue. So what is this right here? So this right here, 600K. It's grabbing all the businesses that are leads that are doing less than 540K, or more than 540K, but less than 660K. And then you select the domain, which is like what space the business is like niche is focused on. So we've got a wide variety of domains, and then the business model is kind of like, how do they structure their business? How do they make money? Our primary forms of making money for this case is we've got info, and we've got consulting. These are in e-commerce as well. So for this case, like info, they're businesses that they basically sell PDFs and just like online courses and things of that nature that teach you a certain skill. So that's just to clarify, that's what an info business is. Like those people that are like, buy my course, blah, blah, blah. And they kind of get a bad rap for being scammy, and a lot of them are, but they're not necessarily all scammy. I'm going to go ahead and run a couple of these cells so I can like demonstrate the model in action. And yeah, so something that I really like about this Bayesian concept, and what this is basically, it's really simple what's going on. So you're basically you're selecting all of the, and there's probably a more efficient way to do this. I'm not like the best programmer by any means, but it works. And what happens is you take all the businesses that are in that range of revenue, and then you take of those businesses, you take the ones that are in that domain. Within that category, you take the ones that have that business model, and then you take the percentage of those, you know, leads that have that business model in that domain with that revenue range, what percentage of them close. And since we barely have any data, we have a try except, where if it's not able, if there's nothing in there, it'll just say, sorry, not enough data available. And then if there are things like in that, with that domain business model and revenue, but there's just none of them closed, it'll just give it 0, obviously. So if we play around with this, we can get different results. So let's say we want to do 500K, and we're gonna switch from fitness, we're gonna do marketing instead, which is kind of an umbrella term, but these people, most of them are doing like Facebook ads, social media, basically Facebook and Google advertising. Some of them do SEO a little bit, but it's mostly Facebook and Google advertising. Marketing info, or let's do a marketing consulting. So like these people, they're like those marketing firms that are like, okay, well, rather than hiring a marketing team in-house, we'll like do your Facebook ads for you for like 2 to 5 up to even 10,000 a month sometimes. And predicts a 100% probability that a marketing consulting firm at that basically 450K to 550K a month would close. Now, obviously, this isn't true, and this is based off of like 60 data points, so it's very very sloppy. Another one is we're going to do these people that basically have their business is basically telling you how to start a business. So wait, what? Okay, so these people, this is kind of suspicious, but I have a feeling like something's off here, because there's let's increase the margin. Maybe that would work. So now we got like 350K to 650K. There's a 66% chance that info business entrepreneur in the entrepreneurship space making between 350 to 650K a month revenue, 66% chance that they will close, which 50% of the data set closed, which probably is unrealistic, but I had a hard time finding people that didn't close. Got strategies for that. I'm potentially thinking about basically just kind of like joining some of their Facebook groups and conducting some surveys. I don't know like how effective that'd be, but I think I'm going to probably more than likely give that a try. And oftentimes I notice, like, I feel like these social media platforms for like professional networking on like Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, they kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm just being a little acting like a victim, but like I feel like they kind of try to polarize you and make it like the algorithm makes it extra hard to like connect with people that are not in your domain, you know. But maybe I'm just like being a baby about it. But I will say, kind of what I like to do actually is kind of like faking it a little bit and act like I know what I'm talking about. I'll read a couple blogs about something that I don't know shit about, and then I'll write a blog about it, and just piece together a blog. And it's often kind of crap, but being an outsider, I'll often have some kind of slightly different perspective, and at least it'll bring enough to like people see that I'm actually taking initiative and doing stuff, and I'm doing just enough to basically in the space to basically establish myself, and not establish myself, but basically be seen as someone who's giving rather than taking. So that way, when I ask for people about their domain, they feel like they feel more of an exchange rather than just me taking, if that makes any sense. So I think I might try to like act like I know, write some blogs about this domain a little bit. So anyway, that is kind of like what's going on here with this model. And another thing I'm going to say is this is a Bayesian, and I'm not like super knowledgeable what I'm talking about at this moment exactly, but this is like the Bayesian theory where it's like, I think I wrote some of this down in here. It's like, where is it? Crap. I think it's in a different notebook. Yeah, it's in a different notebook, but I'm talking about like, it's like probability of A and B occurring, both occurring. So, and it's based on like the probability of A and B occurring divided by the probability of B occurring. Like I said, I've written it down. I've got the notes. I just kind of, it's as far as like just knowing it off the top of my head, I might be a little bit off with that. But this is kind of like this like a more advanced concept of this would be like the naive Bayes model or a Bayesian model of some sorts, which isn't necessarily the way to go. Like for all I know, a decision tree or a random forest or a support vector machine, something totally different of a model could probably do better. I just haven't gone there, and I haven't actually tried any like models. I've this thing I just coded up, this like kind of like borderline almost machine learning, but more just kind of heuristics in between. This little thing that I've coded up is like all I've got for a model right now. But anyways, it's moving along. So with all that stuff being said, I kind of want to just have a little rant here. So it's been a couple of days and I'm back home, but I'm gonna do that rant that I was talking about doing earlier. So basically, throughout my journey with data science, I guess following after my boot camp, data science boot camp, I got into this rut, and I really wouldn't wish it on anybody, but it was I kind of had these two belief systems. There was like kind of related to imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is the belief that you're not enough for any field really, but let's say data science for the purposes of this video. You're not enough, or even a software developer, whatever. You're not enough for this job or industry or whatever. You're not good enough. You need more skills, work on better projects, a bigger portfolio. People have all kinds of things in their head of like what they may need, and then there's the contrary to that is like, oh, I am enough. My skills are there. I'm good at this stuff. I can get a job, or I'm legit person in this industry, whatever. So when it came, so I basically believed I was kind of selective about when I would have like the imposter, I guess anti-imposter. I don't know how do I put this, but like the believing you're not enough and then the believing you are enough. I'd have this like selective belief system where it was basically just like I was avoiding what was difficult and I was kind of staying in my comfort zone. Because I would basically, when it came to applying for jobs and reaching out and stuff, I would operate on the belief that I was not enough. I would barely apply for any jobs, which I'm not really applying for jobs at this moment, which is kind of a different topic. But I wasn't really applying for jobs, and I was doing cold outreach to people on like LinkedIn, like reaching out to data scientists, people and whatnot on LinkedIn. But then when I'd have like a meeting, but wouldn't be very proactive about scheduling the meetings. And then the few meetings that I did have, I didn't even touch on like looking for a job. I was just like, oh, let's just have like a friendly conversation, ask them some questions. They'd enjoy answering their questions. I'd ask them like compelling questions, but like it didn't really do anything for me. And it's not like it's their fault. It's like I didn't really drive it anywhere. I didn't really push it anywhere, if that makes sense.
Which pushing it too hard towards finding a job would obviously be bad. But I was just having a friendly little conversation, not really, which didn't really get me anywhere. And I'd have this like, yeah, well, I'm not really ready for a job because I need to do more for my project and blah blah blah. My this isn't good enough. My this isn't good enough. Tableau, SQL. I don't even remember half the shit I was coming up with that why I wasn't good enough. But then when it came to like working on projects, and I was in the comfort of my own room, I'd be like, oh yeah, all that is imposter syndrome. I am good enough. Blah blah blah. This like little like feel good speech. And I'd be like, yeah, my skills are there. And then I would just be like, okay, I don't need to improve my skills. I'll just download another data set on Kaggle and make another Kaggle project, like with like a Kaggle data set. Not to belittle Kaggle or people that work on Kaggle. I think it's a great place to start for beginners and stuff. And there are like cash prizes, so if you're really good, I mean, it's kind of worth it in some ways. But I was just staying within these skills that like, they taught me in the boot camp that I was comfortable with, like Matplotlib and Seaborn, data visualization, pandas, um, little machine learning libraries. I wasn't doing any working with any like, APIs or data collecting and that kind of stuff. Um, and I wasn't really. I was neglecting my weaknesses, which were in data collecting, data engineering, and also statistics, which I'm focusing pretty heavily on now. Putting way more emphasis on those two things than I am on machine learning, for example, now. And I was getting frustrated with this job hunt, and like I know it sounds kind of like I gave up in a way, but I really didn't. But the point is, I started this tutoring, and the skills, and when I've been tutoring people recently, the skills that were needed to tutor people in like data science and teach them how to clean data, wrangle data, do set up some machine learning models, um, relatively basic things that they kind of taught me in the boot camp, but teaching them like privately one on one with other people. Um, so I've been doing that, and like let me tell you, like the skills I had to the skills used to do that, I could have done that probably a year ago. Like I literally could have done that a year ago, but it was only just then when I'm like got tired and frustrated of all this like spinning my wheels, not getting anywhere. That I was just like, I'm done. I'm done with this being. I'm done with the way I'm living. I'm tired of this shit. I'm done with this shit. I'm going to start tutoring people, and it's not like I've created some massive success or anything, but I've been working on the project, treating it more or less like a full time job, um, and then I got this little tutoring that I kind of treat as like a little side hustle, and I made $850 this past month doing that. So um, it's not a full time job. Obviously, it's nowhere near what a data science salary would be, but it's a big start because I had gone 11 months in this mom's basement where I'm filming right now, just being that guy in his mom's basement that makes $0. Which I mean, I'm only like 20, so I guess I got a little bit of forgiveness because a lot of people, I guess a lot of 20-year-olds are in college doing the same thing. It's just they're not like in their mom's basement, but like basically just not making any money. But like I don't want to go down that path of being the guy in his mom's basement not making any money. Obviously, that just I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Anyway, that's been the video. So, if you, I guess, just the moral of this rant is like, if you have like a belief that's kind of like you kind of selective about when you believe a certain topic or not, that like has a lot to do with maybe your goals, probably you're more than likely doing something that's avoiding being uncomfortable. Um, and that's the rant. And I'm putting myself talking about how I made like $850 tutoring people, or whatever. I'm not like putting myself in a position of someone that's massively successful. I'm just saying like I've gotten out of a pretty bad rut, and I want to kind of share how I, it's just kind of sharing how I got out of that rut myself. So if this helps you or something, let me know, and see you in the next one.